You're going to learn in this tutorial how to make a female character mesh. You will learn how to take basic shapes to block out your mesh. You will learn how to take those shapes and then join them together using the remesh technique in Blender. You will learn how to add additional details to your character in sculpt mode. You will learn how to use curves to make hair and then how to turn those curves into mesh hair. You will learn how to use mask extract in Blender sculpt mode to make jeans, a shirt, a leather jacket, as well as shoes. You will learn how to make eyes as well as the iris in the eyes. You will learn how to shape stylized eyelashes. You will learn how to add additional details to your clothes, such as a collar as well as a zipper. You will learn how to use nodes to make a basic skin shader. You will learn how to apply textures to your characters, as well as how to use Smart UV Unwrapped for quick UV unwrapping work. This tutorial is taught in a step-by-step narrated fashion. As I teach the tutorial, I try to not only explain what I'm doing, but why I'm doing what I'm doing. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and I hope that you enjoy it. Hi, this is Ali Arango of Little Guy CGI. Today I'm going to show you how to make a female character mesh inside of Blender 2.83. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up how I like to navigate around Blender. I'm going to press the N key that brings up this panel right here. I'm then going to go to the upper right, select View. I'm going to go down to where we see this 3D nav. To see this 3D nav, you need to go to Edit, User Preferences, go to Add-ons, and it should be the first add-on. This is when I say add-on, this is something that's inside of the default version of Blender. You just have to put a check mark next to it to see it. So I'm going to click this arrow here. Then I'm going to select Front to go to Front View. Inside of Blender, there's multiple ways to maneuver around. I like to use these right here. If you left click and drag here, you can rotate the view. If you left click and drag up and down, you can rotate in or out. If you left click on this hand, you can pan back and forth. This is the camera view. This takes you out of what's called perspective as well as orthographic view. Typically to rotate, I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate. So the first thing we're going to do is, or one of the first things, we're going to select front right there. With this cube selected, we're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. Then we're going to select delete to delete the cube. Okay, the way we're going to go about things is we're going to block out our character first. So that's the first process we're doing here. So we're going to hold Shift, press A. This brings up our Add to menu. We're going to go to Mesh. What we're going to do is we're looking in the mesh menu for this round cube. We're going to left click here, right? We see this cube, kind of rounded, but not what we want. We look to the lower left of our screen. We select the arrow here. Then we'll see these operator presets. What you want to do is select the arrow there. And then you want to go to quad sphere. So we'll left click that. So after we set this to quad sphere, for the most part, if we add more cubes in, we shouldn't have to go back to this operator preset. We should go right to what we see right here. When you left click that menu over there, it goes away. Okay, when I start making a character, I like to start with the head. So I'm going to left click on this head. I'm going to right click. Then I'm going to select Shade Smooth, right? If you are curious, like as you're working in Blender, which view you're looking at, if you look to the upper left, you can see which view we're in. We're in a front view. We're in an orthographic view. What this orthographic means is it's, even though we're in a 3D program, this orthographic view lets us see things kind of like they're in 2D. This is often useful for when you're working in 3D. So we're in the front view. What we want to do now is we want to go to the right view. So we're going to come to the lower right-hand corner, select right. So now when you look to your upper left, you can see we're in the right orthographic view. Okay, with this cube sphere selected, we're going to hold Shift. We're going to press D. That duplicated this sphere. I'm going to right click to get that sphere to go right back into position. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to the move tool. When I went to the move tool, now we can see this manipulator, which is the main reason we went to the move tool. This manipulator allows us to move our duplicated sphere. What you want to do is this duplicated sphere, we're going to push this down, which we didn't do yet, so that the top of this sphere lines up with the green line there. So we push this down. So see how the top of the sphere lines up with the green line. Now this back of the sphere, we're in the right view. You want to have this back line up with this blue line. So you're going to push that forward to there like that. So we're going to shrink this sphere. Once we shrink this sphere, we're going to reline up this with so it's aligned with the green line. And we're going to make sure the back is aligned with the blue line. So we're going to press S to scale. You're not scaling this down too much. See how this went away from that line? So we're going to just move this up, then move this back. So what's going on here is this is like the top part of the head. This is going to be the bottom part of the head. The reason why we use spheres is we're in the right view. However, from the front, we have like this nice, there's going to be a nice rounded shape to the face. So with this selected, we're going to go to the upper left now. We're going to go to sculpt mode. Okay, what we want to do now is see right where this, let me zoom in. See right where this line is. We want this part of the sphere to come in like that, right? This is going to be at the front, bottom part of the face. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the grab brush. What we want to do is drag this out. I'm not doing it yet. I'm just showing you the motion. We want to go from here to basically here, all right? Okay, so one of the things to do this, you want to make sure your brush is big enough. So see how the brush, the size of it is like smaller than the sphere. I want to take it slightly bigger than the sphere. We can see when we move this brush how Blender shows us like how we're grabbing this sphere. So you want to go towards the front and then you're going to drag in. Now I find that I drag in some, I let go, right? Then I go back and then drag in again. So I'm trying to get this sphere to be, you know, for the most part, straight. That looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to hold them in the mouse button and go towards the front. That's not bad. All right, so we're in user perspective, so we're not straight in an orthographic view. We're going to select front. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to flatten brush. Just flatten this up some. So generally that area, I'm just trying to have it be, you know, fairly flat. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the scrape brush. This tends to work very well for flattening things out. One thing to be aware of here in sculpt mode is where we can basically adjust geometry like it's clay. When we go into sculpt mode, we automatically have symmetry turned on, right? If I look to the slightly upper right and then scroll down, I'm rolling the mouse wheel down. See this symmetry right here? This X symmetry is automatically turned on. And what that does is it means that whatever we do on one side in here tends to be done on the other side as long as this is turned on, right? It's important to know it's set up like that because when you're working in 3D, it's a help to have, when you're working with bisymmetrical creatures that are the same on one side as on the other, it's helpful to have to be able to work on one side and have the other side worked on as well. I just pointed that out. You should be aware of that. What we're doing now, see how like this is sticking out? We want to scrape this, right, to flatten out this edge here. So we're going to press F to shrink this down. And then we're going to just scrape that edge some. So what I do is I rotate to try to get like a decent view. All right. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this even more. Now, as I'm flattening, what I'm doing is I'm actually trying to push this into the other mesh somewhat. And I'm also trying to bring this line down to about halfway here, right? Let's flatten this out some more. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to select this part of the head right here. And then I'm going to go to the upper left and go to sculpt mode. So here, what I'm going to do is, with that scrape brush still on, is I am... okay. I want more geometry for the head. So I'm going back to object mode. With this selected, I'm going to go to the wrench. So when I say geometry, let me show you this. I'll select here. I'll select wireframe. So this is how much geometry are in both of these two pieces right now, right? I want to increase this. There's multiple ways we can increase this. For what I'm going to do now for this is I'm selecting the wrench. These are our modifiers. These allow us to modify geometry in Blender. Very useful, particularly the one we're about to use, which is the subdivision surface modifier. We're going to look to this viewport. We're going to take this up to 2. Then we're going to select apply. We're going to go back to that wireframe. Now you can see there's a lot more geometry there, right? So you can see the geometry here. We're going to do the same thing. You don't have to turn it off. I just turn it off. So with the wrench applied, we'll select subdivision surface 2. Apply that. Now this has a lot more geometry as well. Alright, so now with that done, we'll select here. We'll go back to here. What we can do to make things easier for us to sculpt is we can go to the upper right. We can go to this matte cap. This allows us to have colors that make things easier as far as sculpting. We can turn on things like this cavity, makes us see shadows better, which helps as far as sculpting. We can also select here. We get all these different options. Typically I like this. I think we're going to use this. And this allows us to see things easier as we sculpt. Anyway, what we're going to do is flatten this out. So now that we have more geometry, right? When I go here, see that how much like cleaner that is, that line? The geometry is allowing me to do that. And what I'm doing here, what I do when I'm making a head is I kind of like let this flattening right here. I use this as well as this piece. So there's two pieces, this piece, top piece, bottom piece. I use this right here to make like the eye socket, if you will, right? I come to the side. There's like a flat part of the head right here. So I flatten this part of the head out here. I'm going just in circles, flattening that out somewhat. This line right here, like when I come to the front, when I'm looking like I want this to come in more like that, so I'll go back to the side, flatten it out, then I'll take that line like up and around, like so that it comes more towards the front. So then now what I'll do is I'll press F, which allows you to shrink your brush. So you push F, you push in or out, you can make the size of your brush go up. Now I'll flatten out this edge right here. Okay. Okay, there's multiple ways of making a head. This is just my way. Remember, for me, this flat part here, as well as like how this top part, this bottom part intersect, is how I make my eye socket. All right. So what I do then is I go back to object mode. Now we can scale now inside of sculpt mode. I'm just used to doing it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this, and what I find is when I scale this eye socket part kind of like draws in. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis, right? Like that. Again, this is where I'm aiming for the eye socket to be at. Okay, I'm going to select this bottom part. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis to scale that as well. Again, this is the eye socket. Yes, I'm saying it over and over again because I want you to get it. And we'll do more work on the head. We're doing a basic blocking now. We're going to go to that upper left, go to sculpt mode. When you scale objects, see this? There's a thing that pops up that says non-uniform. So one thing you want to do is when you scale objects in Blender, object mode, you want to hold Control, press A. This brings up this applied menu. What you want to do is select rotation as well. Scale, I'll select here. Hold Control, press A. Select rotation and scale. This, long story short, it makes things work better for you. This is what you want to do when you scale things. When you see the warning pop up. So with this selected, I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to go to scope mode. I'm going to zoom back some. I'm going to press F to scale here, and I want to flatten this out more like this, especially since I have more geometry. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'm going to hold shift, press A. I'm going to go to all right, I'm in mesh. Where is there we go, round cube. Okay, so as I work on this tutorial, generally this should come back to sphere. If it doesn't, you just go to operator presets down to quad sphere again. We'll pull this out from the side. We're going to use this for as an ear. We're going to press S to scale on the Y axis to basically make like an ear like that. We're going to press S to scale. Hold the middle mouse button, rotate, put this towards the center there. We're going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. Like push that in. Okay, I'm going to left click to deselect. I'm going to roll back where I rolled back. I'm going to hold shift, press A. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to mesh, cylinder. So we're going to press S to scale like this. Push this down like that. Press S to scale like that. Press S to scale on the Z axis like this. You want to make sure that the neck is long enough. That's what we're making now. I'm going to press R to rotate on the X axis. The neck is long enough to go into your head as well as like into your body. So I'm going to press S to scale, then Z, right? See how that line is not lining up with the geometry? I pressed S to scale, then Z. I'm going to press Z a second time. Now this lines up so I can scale that neck to make it actually longer, which is excellent. We'll most likely use a mirror later on to mirror that to the other side. I'm going to left click to deselect. Okay, so remember, we're just getting the basic shapes in here right now. I'm actually happy to be back to be doing organic modeling again. For a while I've been doing hard surface modeling, so nice to be working on an organic character again. So I'm holding the middle mouse button, just taking a look. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to hold shift, press A. We're going from mesh. We're looking for round cube again. We'll left click. There's a rounded cube. We'll push this down like this. Look to the side. Move this back. When you use the manipulator, see how this goes up as well as back. This tends to help you keep things in control. I'm going to press S to scale this up. Then I'm going to push this down. So this is like the main part of our upper body that we're working on here. So this is the upper part of the torso we're working on. Okay, as we work on our character, typically when you work on a character, you'll aim for the character to be about 8 heads high. Just something to keep in mind. So with this cube sphere here, let me go to a right view. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis. Scale this in like this, right? Now I'm going to press R to rotate on the X axis. So we'll rotate this like that. Push this forward some, like that. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to take a look from the front. I'm going to press S to scale to make this bigger. So this part right here is kind of like the rib cage, right? We want the rib cage eventually should come up. So that's kind of what I'm looking at as I'm looking here. We're making a female, so the body typically this curves like this, goes straight down, and then kind of curves back like that. Okay, the neck, you want to the back of the neck should go almost to the back of this piece of the torso. I'll push that forward slightly more. I'll press R to rotate on the X-axis. So I want that rotated more like that. I'm going to hold Shift, press A. This brings up our mesh menu. I'm going to select another rounded cube. I'll go to the operator preset. Go to quad sphere. Bring that down like that. Press S to scale. I held the middle mouse button rotate. I'll press S to scale on the Y-axis like this. You want this piece to be long enough to make sure that it goes in. Press S to scale on the Z-axis. I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis there into the next portion that we're going to bring in. We scaled this, so we want to hold Control, press A, and then select. That brought up our Apply menu. We want to select Rotation as well as Scale. I'm going to select here, right click, select Shade Smooth, select here, right click, select, oops, no, don't want that. Right click, select Shade Smooth. We'll go to the upper left, go to Sculpt Mode. Here in Sculpt Mode, I'm going to go to the Grab Brush. I'm going to pull out to the side like this. Pull this back some like that. I'm holding the middle mouse button, rotate. We'll go back to Object Mode. Hold the middle mouse button, rotate. I'll hold Shift, press A, go to Mesh. Then I'm going to bring in Rounded Cube. Bring this down like this. Press S to scale like that. Hold the middle mouse button, rotate. Push that down like that. I'll press S to scale on the Y-axis like this. That's the scale on the X. We can change these proportions later on, so don't let it, get to you too much, the proportions right now. So what I'm looking here is I'm just looking at the head compared to the body, not getting too much into the proportions, but should be about 4 heads down. I'm going to press R to rotate on the X-axis like this. I'm going to right-click, select Shade Smooth, hold Control, press A. This brings up our Apply menu. Then I'm going to select Rotation as well as Scale. I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate. I'm going to left click on the hand to drag up. I'm going to select here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis to bring this down some. I'm going to select here, press S to scale on the X axis to bring that in some. S to scale on the X axis to bring that in some. S to scale on the X axis to bring that in some. I'm going to select here. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Sculpt Mode. I'm going to hold Control, press A. This brings us to our Apply menu, select Rotation as well as Scale, select here, hold Control, press A. Rotation as well as Scale, select here, hold Control, press A. Rotation as well as Scale. With this selected, I'm taking a look. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Sculpt Mode. These different brushes have different purposes. This crease brush is extremely useful for making things like edges of bones, putting lines in, like deeper lines in. Crease is extremely useful. What I want to do right now is actually need more geometry. Well, there's different ways of increasing geometry. There's multiple ways we can go around. For now, I'm just using the subdivision surface. We'll probably change this. Okay, I have this on here already. Subdivision surface. I'm just choosing to go about it, upping the geometry. Just because that's what's in my mind right there, if you want to know. So anyway, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode. So basically the reason why I increased the geometry was we were trying to shape. I wasn't seeing what I wanted, so I increased the geometry so that I could have the effect that I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to shrink my brush. So I'm thinking of like the rib cage here. So I'm kind of getting that shape that I want of the rib cage, and this is actually doing pretty much just what I wanted to do. All right, as far as jumping between different sculpted modes here, what we can do is I'm going to go back to object mode. Okay, here in object mode, I'm going to left click here. I'm going to name this upper space torso. I'll select here. I'll name this mid torso. That's what I want. I'll name this hips. Alright, so now what I can do is I'm going to select this right here. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edit, and then see this lock objects modes. I'm going to take away this check mark. Okay, so what that should allow us to do is now I can go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode, right? So now if I want to select this, I can hold Alt, left click. So then I'm holding down Alt, I'm letting go of Alt. So now I can select mid torso. Now this took me back into object mode. However, I can go to the upper left, go to sculpt, right? So now I can go to here, hold Alt, left click, let go of Alt, select hips, same thing. It took me back to object mode. So I'm going to sculpt. So now all of these modes are in sculpt mode, right? So now I can hold Alt, left click here. I'm in the sculpt mode for upper torso. I'm holding Alt. I select here, let go of Alt, mid torso. So now I'm here. So basically it is doing that as a way of going quickly back and forth through working with our different objects. However, taking out the step of going back to object mode. Okay, I'm going to hold Alt, make sure I'm upper torso. I'm going to go to the elastic deform brush. This brush tends to let you work while staying in control. It allows you to work without having things really seeming like they're getting out of control. I'm going to hold Alt, select here, let go of Alt. So I'm kind of like this area here is like the leg area. I'm just shaping this. I'm going to go to inflate this abdominal area. You actually want this to, whoops. Make sure I'm on mid torso. There you go. You actually want this to come through. It's a very prominent area when you're working for a female character. Flatten. Oops, not. still. Sometimes that happens. You think you selected the brush. You didn't, but you think you did. When you're working in 3D, often you have to look from front to left. I'm going to hold Alt, select upper torso, go to inflate. Hold Alt, left click here, mid torso. I'll hold Shift. When you hold Shift in Blender in sculpt mode, you automatically smooth. It's very nice. So it doesn't matter what brush you're on. If you hold Shift, you'll on just about every brush you will activate smooth. Okay, I'm holding the middle mouse button. Taking a look, I'm going to hold Alt, left click here, select hips, elastic deform, press F. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'm going to hold Shift, press A. This brings up our Add to menu. I'm going to go to Mesh. I'm going to round cube. I'll go to operator presets, left click, and then I'll select quad sphere. If you don't see this pop up like this, it's probably near the bottom. You'll just select that arrow to get that to pop up. And I push this down. Move this to the side. I'm going to go to front. I'm going to press S to scale like this. Push this over some. Press. See where this 3D cursor is at? Where this 3D object is at is where objects tend to come into Blender at. So what I'm going to do is hold Shift, press A. I'm going to go to empty. I'm going to bring in a empty cube. Empty is a non-renderable object. I'm going to press S to scale to shrink that down. Now that we have that empty, what we're going to do is I'm going to select this ear. I have the wrench modifier. I'm going to select the arrow here. I'm going to select the mirror. I'm going to select for the mirror object, the empty. So now we can see on the other side we have that. I'm going to select here, hold Shift, select here, and then with this selected first, this selected second, I can make the modifier that I put on here, the ears, which is the mirror, be applied to this along with this mirror object empty. You might sit there and say, well, why not just put the mirror modifier on this? Why do you have to go through that? Well, even like extra steps of like putting in this empty, it adds up as far as time. So anyway, with this selected first, this selected second, we hold Control, press L. This brings up our Make Links menu, and then what we want to do is go down to modifier. So we'll left click there, and this just took on the modifier of that. So whatever we do to this side will be done to that side. Having this mirror set up by the empty means we also can move our objects in as well as out. This side will adjust accordingly. Okay, so I'm going to name this upper legs. Okay, so I'm going to right click. I'm going to select Shade Smooth. I'll select this neck, right click, select Shade Smooth. While I'm on this, I'll add some geometry to it. So I'll put a subdivision surface, take the viewport up to 2, select Apply. I'll select this upper leg, go to the arrow, select the subdivision surface, select this up to 2, select Apply. So we have more geometry on that. So I applied the subdivision surface, but not the mirror. Okay, I'm going to right click, I'm going to select Shade Smooth. I'll select the neck. Right click, select Shade Smooth. I want to increase the geometry on the neck while we're here. If I put a subdivision surface modifier of 2 on this, like I plan to do here, this will take away the shape. I don't want that, so I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to go to edit mode. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold control, right click, put in multiple loop cuts. And then I'm going to select everything, right click, and then select subdivide. So because I did that, we're going to use something that the geometry, like the loops that I put in, I didn't tell you the exact amount, aren't particularly important right now. The geometry is going to be changed from what we're going to do later on. So with that done, now we'll go to, not there, we'll go to the wrench, we'll select subdivision surface modifier, a viewport of 2, we'll select that. If we didn't do what we did first, this would have changed the shape. I'm going to select, right click, select Shade Smooth. Okay, I did that already apparently. This I'm going to select, go to subdivision surface, put a viewport of 2 on, select apply. The reason why this doesn't matter, like why we didn't have to do what we did here, is because this is already a circular shape. This is a cylinder shape, so if we had did that, this would have curved in, would have taken away the cylinder shape that we want. So we applied the subdivision surface with a viewport of 2 on here. However, we left the mirror modifier on here. Okay, so with the selected, I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to go to scope mode. I'm going to go to the elastic deform, zoom back, go to front view, select the hand to pan up. I'm going to select near the bottom. I'm going to pull this down. Somehow I lost this. Being able to grab this, I'm going to hold alt, left click that again, and then continue to drag down like that. We can move this here in sculpt mode. I'm choosing to go out to object mode to move this up. I'm going to left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to select here, hold shift, press D, right click, bring these down like this, press S to scale, like that. I'll press S to scale on the Z axis like this. S to scale like that. I'm going to press R to rotate on the X axis like this. Push these forward something like that. I'll press S to scale the X axis something like that. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to lower right, select right. I'm going to select here, hold shift, select here. I'm going to press R to rotate on the X axis to rotate this like this. I'm going to pull this back slightly like that. I'm going to select here, press R to rotate on the X axis like this. Then left click to lock that in. Now left click on nothingness to deselect, hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, I'm going to select here, go to the lower right, select front, zoom in, go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode. I'm on elastic deform, which is what I want. I'm going to press F to shrink this brush some. I'm going to pull up here like this. Okay. Okay, I'm going to hover here, hold Alt, left click, go to the lower right, select front, select the hand, move this down. I'm going to select the shoulders, move them up, select this neck area here, pull this up some like that. I'm gonna go to the overlays to see how much geometry I have. I want more geometry than that. So I'm gonna go to the upper left object mode, go to the wrench, add a subdivision surface modifier, a view of 2. I'm going to select apply. Now I'll go back to the upper left, go to scope mode. And things are easier to shape now. Good. All right, I'm going to hold Alt, left click here, go to the upper left, then go to scope mode. We're going to shape these upper thighs some. What we want to do for this is go to the upper right, the top menu of these menus here, go down to symmetry. We actually want to select this button here in the mirror to turn off the symmetry for what we're about to do. Okay, the reason why we turned off the symmetry was with the symmetry on, if I pulled here, this side would move as well. I want to be able to pull here, have just this side move. When I move here, have just this side move. So with that being said, we're going to press F. We want to bring this over some like this. I really like that elastic deform brush. Now, okay, there we go. Yeah. I'm going to go to the grab brush for here. Back to the elastic deform brush for here. Okay. I'm going to hover here, hold a left click. I'm going to go to the grab brush. I want to make sure that symmetry is actually on for this. So I'm going to left click to pull up here. Go back to elastic deform for here. Bring that in some like that. Okay, when I roll the mouse wheel to zoom back, I'm going to hold Alt, left click here. There we go. I'm going to hold Control, press A. This brings up our apply menu. I'm then going to select rotation and scale. I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to go to scope mode. I'm going to zoom in. Take the hand to pan up. I am going to make sure that symmetry is turned off. Again, for here, I'm going to use the elastic deform. I'm going to shrink down the brush. Zoom back, press F. I'm going to hold Shift. Let's move that out. So I'm going to go to the grab brush. Back to elastic deform. I'll zoom the mouse back, press F to make this bigger. Do that out to the side, something like that. Holding Shift. Shift automatically smooths. Go back to the grab brush, press F. Okay. I'm going to go back to object mode. I left click to deselect, hold shift, press A, go to mesh, go to rounded cube, go to operator presets, go down to quad sphere, zoom back, move this over here like this, zoom in, select the hand to pan down, press S to scale. I'll right click, select shade smooth. I'm going to go to the modifiers, add a subdivision surface modifier, take the viewport up to 2, then apply that. I'm going to go to the lower right, go to right view, bring this back like this. I'm going to hold Control A, brings up our apply menu, select apply. See this bump here? This is actually, I'm going to hold Alt, let go of Alt, select upper torso. We actually want this to be back. Should be matching up with that. While we're here, we can bring this in some. Like that. We'll hold Alt, we'll left click, let go of Alt, select mid torso, we'll bring this in some as well. I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, I'm going to go back to the upper left, go back to object mode. I'm going to hold shift, press A. From mesh, I'm going to bring in a cylinder. Move the cylinder over. I'll scale it down. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis like this. Position it like that. You want the cylinder to come down to around where this piece right here ends. We'll hold the middle mouse button. We'll drag this cylinder back like that. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to press S to scale this down more. Press S to scale on the Z axis. Something like that. That's the scale on the Z axis, more like that. I'm going to hold shift, press D, right click, bring this down like that. I'm going to hold shift, select here, bring them both down some. Like that. Left click to deselect. I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'll select here. I'll press R to rotate on the X axis like this. Push this forward. R to rotate on the X axis like that. Push that forward more. I'll hold shift. Press R to rotate on the Y axis like this. Move this up some. I think when you put the sphere in, it's good to have the arm come down first. So you can kind of see the proportions like this. Here, this piece should come down. The elbow should be around here. The wrist, you want it to be around like this part of the upper thigh right there. So I'm going to left click to deselect. I put the bend here in because I'm thinking of rigging in the future. So it's good to have a bend in the arm. Okay, I'm going to select here, hold shift, press D, right click, bring this down like this. Press S to scale. My thinking here with this is just to make sure that this is totally joined together. Also, your elbow tends to have like a bump there as well. I'm gonna hold Shift, press D, right click. Similar for here, my thinking here is like as we form the hand as well as the wrist, this gives us maneuverability as far as the model, is my thinking. Okay, when I say maneuverability, what I mean is length. Like if we have a piece of mesh here, we can kind of like move this. Again, similar here to make the pieces of the mesh join together is what I mean by that. Okay, we're going to make a hand. So I'm going to go to the lower right, go to front. When it comes to the hand, I would recommend you don't overthink the hand. What we're going to do is we're going to hold Shift, press A. We go to Mesh, and then we're going to go to Round Cube. In this case, this is excellent that we have this rounded cube. Why is this excellent? This is excellent because the hand is generally cube shaped, or square shaped, I guess I should say. So what we're going to do is with this in the front view, we're going to press X, slightly bring it in. All right. One of the important things about the hand is your fingers are basically as long as like the main hand area. So what we're going to do is, well, first let's rotate the view, right? We're going to press S to scale on the Y axis to get the hand to about that thickness. We'll go back to the front view. The finger's about the length of this, right? So we're going to hold Shift, press D, right click. So we have this right here. This is basically going to gives us, the width of our finger. So we're going to press S to scale on the X axis like this. So here we have the main part of our hand. We already have one finger done, or, the basics of it done already. Okay, what we're going to do now is with this finger selected, we want to make sure that any scaling is applied. So let's actually select this, hold Control, press A, select, that brought up our apply menu. We're going to select rotation as well. Scale, we'll select here, hold Control, press A, select rotation as well as scale. With this finger selected, we're going to go to the lower right. So far, we've been increasing geometry by using the subdivision surface. We're going to go to this, looks like a green triangle. We're going to go to remesh. This remesh will increase our geometry as well as restructure the geometry. What we're going to do is go to this voxel size. We're going to enter in 0.05, then press enter. Then we're going to select voxel remesh. And that will have added geometry. It does good stuff. This is excellent for multiple reasons. It's excellent. Anyway, with that done, we're going to go to View Global / Local. So we can see just this finger. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate. It's too long, so we'll press S to scale on the Y axis like that. We'll hold Control, press A. We'll select, that brought up our apply menu. We'll select rotation as well as scale. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the upper left. We're going to go to scope mode. Here in scope mode, we're going to go down to the pose brush. This allows us to pose things very easily, nicely, and it allows us to do it without a rig, which is nice. I'm going to increase the brush. So basically the way it works is it works kind of like according to your brush size. So that's good. I didn't click anything yet. I'm just literally looking at the brush size, right? what I'm going to do is go to the left hand view. I want to bend this back so we have like a finger bend. So I'm going to left click. That gives us a decent finger bend. So you see that line? The line is set up according to the size of my brush size, right? So that's how I'm getting that size. So you can see like from the tip to the edge of the circle, that's, you know, how I have that bend set up. So with that done, I'm going to go back. Well, I don't particularly like staying on the pose brush. I'm going to go back to view global/local. So now I have, you know, a finger with some bend in it, right? So I'm going to go back to the upper left to object mode. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to front view, zoom in. We're not concerned about the size currently right now. I'll push this to the side slightly. I'm going to push this in slightly like this. Push that out. Hold shift, press D, right click. Bring this out to the side. Push this down some like that. I'm going to hold shift, press D, right click. So right here, pretty much the ring finger, the ring finger as well as the index finger are very similar as far as size. We're going to hold shift, press D, right click, bring this out. This is going to be our pinky finger. So we'll push this back some like that. We had scaled that over. We'll, you know, bring this out some like that. So what we'll do here is we'll hold shift, press D, right click. We'll bring this back like this. We'll press R to rotate. We'll hold the mouse button to rotate the view. So this is on the side. This needs to go back this way some. Like that. We'll go back to front view. We'll rotate more. Reason why I'm if you're like, oh, he seems concerned about rotate, I want to make sure that this is set up for easy rigging. So I'm going to turn this to the side like this. Also, we're going to use remesh on this. We need there to be a decent amount of space so that the remesh doesn't try to join the fingers together. We'll go like this. Like this. You need for your remesh, you need a decent amount of space. When you look at the fingers, like they're spread out like this, there should be an arc to the fingers. So I'll push this in some like this, in some like this. I'm kind of looking for like that arc. While thinking about the, the length of the different fingers. Your thumb, you want to it's fine using the thumb being the same size as these fingers here. Left click to deselect. I'm going to actually zoom out. I'm going to go to the upper left at hand to pan. I'm going to hold shift, press A, go to mesh, down to rounded cube. I'm going to go to operator presets, go to quad sphere. I'm going to pull this out to the side, push this down like this. I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis like that. S to scale on the X axis, something like that. Reason why I did this is the meaty part of the thumb kind of lines up with the thumb. So now we can press R to rotate on the Y axis. So I'm doing this to have this go along with the basic direction of the thumb. And I'm going to hold shift, press D, right click, move this over, press R to rotate on the Y axis like this, press S, scale. Just thinking as I do this. I'm gonna hold the middle mouse button to rotate back towards the front. I'll select here, bring that back some more. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, I'm holding the middle mouse button to take a look. I don't really want that going past the thumb, so I'll press us to scale that. Some. Okay, so what we're going to do is join these different pieces together. I'm going to left click to deselect. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button, rotate. I'm going to left click here, hold shift. While holding shift, I'm left clicking there. I'm letting go of shift so I can rotate the view. Shift allows you to select more than one object at a time. I'm holding shift again. If I didn't hold shift, I would lose the selection on those other two objects. I'm holding shift, still holding shift, still holding shift, holding shift, holding shift. And then lastly, I want to select here. I'm letting go of shift now. The reason why I want to select this last is I want all of these objects to be joined to this object here, this square here. So with that done, I'm going to hold control. I'm going to press J. So now all of those objects are joined to this one object here. Okay, when I say these objects are joined, they're joined as in they're not separate objects. However, inside of edit mode, these are all separate objects. What we want to do is make them be so that they're all considered one object, but they're also actually one object, right? The way we can do that is fairly easily with the remesh tool. So we'll go to with this voxel select, we'll select here. We'll enter in 0.05, we'll press enter. Then we'll select voxel remesh. That quick voxel remesh is done. Excellent. Okay, we're going to zoom in, go to the hand to the upper right. We're going to hold control, press A. This brings up our apply menu. We're going to select rotation as well as scale. We're going to go to the upper left, go to scope mode. We're going to press F to shrink our brush, zoom in. I'm going to hold shift. When I hold shift, I automatically activate the smooth tool. So I'm blending that in. I'm holding the middle mouse button, rotate. I let go of shift when I to rotate, by the way. So I'm just blending that in. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Holding shift again. I'm just left clicking now while holding shift to smooth this out. Zooming back, looking at this edge here, holding down the left mouse button as well as shift to smooth that out some. Same thing here now. Same thing here. Rolling the mouse wheel to zoom back, holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, when you look at the hands, there's bones that go from your finger to your hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the blob brush. We're going to press F, shrink our brush. So we're just pretty much making lines going from the finger to the hand. when you're doing this, you can overemphasize the bones. We're going to use a smooth modifier, which will smooth most of this out. So you can overemphasize your bones. Okay, I'm going to hold up the mouse button to rotate the view. We're going to go to the crease brush. So we're putting the creases that separate the joints of the finger in right here. Here, so the fingers are basically broken up into 3 sections. These sections are like they go in an arc, very similar to the fingers. So have that in your mind as you do this. And go to the blob brush. Remember when I told you you can overemphasize things because of the smooth modifier that we're going to use. So this is like kind of the basic puff that comes out. Again, I'm overemphasizing because of the smooth brush. So there's like this meaty part of the hand here. Same thing. We're going to smooth this out. So holding the middle mouse button, what we can do is we can actually put in extra kind of like a geometry here, thinking of the knuckles. Okay, so with that done, we'll go back to the upper left, go to object mode. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to the wrench. We're going to what we're going to do now is go to the wrench. We're going to add the smooth modifier. We're going to set the factor to 1. We're going to set the repeat to 18. You can set this to whatever looks good to you. I like it at 18. I'm going to select apply. I'm also going to select here, right click, then select shade smooth. I'm going to zoom back. This can be adjusted more, obviously. When you look at the hand, your hands can be different sizes. If you look at the length of the hand, look at your own hand compared to your own forearm. Your hand looks like it's about 2.5 lengths of your forearm. So I'm rotating to see how this looks here at that size. Okay, when I rotate this hand, or to rotate on the Z-axis, 90, then press enter to lock that in. I'm doing these exact rotations, thinking about future rigging. I'm going to left click to deselect. There we go. First time it didn't work, second time it did. Okay, we're going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to select front to go to front view. I'm going to hold shift, press A, go to mesh. Then I'm going to go to rounded cube. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to press S to scale. Press Shift D, right click. Move this forward. I go to edit mode. Left click to deselect. Press C for paint select. And I'm going to select here. Press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. You can see this highlighted blue circle right here. The proportioning editing tool allows you to manipulate more than one vertex, edge, or face at a time. Over to the upper left, we can select vertices, edges, as well as faces. So with this selected here, I'm going to go to right. I'm going to press G, and I'm just moving this down like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to select here, hold shift, press D, right click, move this forward, press S to scale the Z axis like this. Bring that down like that. I'll press S to scale on the Y axis like this. I'll hold shift. Select all these, press S to scale on the X axis like that. Push this down more, press S to scale that down some more. I'm gonna select the hand. I'll select here, hold shift, press D, right click, bring this down like this. Move this forward, press S to scale like that. I'll select these pieces, move them back. I'm gonna left click to deselect. I'm gonna zoom back, look towards the front. Looks like it needs to be slightly wider. I'm gonna select here, hold shift, select there. I'm gonna press S to scale on the X axis like that. I think this is in enough to have these connect. We're gonna do a remesh. I drag this back slightly like that. Then I'm gonna left click to deselect. Okay, let's select here, hold shift, press D, right click, bring this down here. Shrink this down. Put that right there. Bring this back some. And left click to deselect. Okay, when we made up the foot is basically 3 different shapes. So it was easier to do that in edit mode, I think, than to do the initial than to go in the scope to get the initial block out. Okay, so we're gonna hold shift, press A, go to mesh, down to round cube. Operator presets, we're going to select capsule. We're going to push this forward. We're going to press R to rotate on the Y axis, 9, 0, and then press enter to lock that in. We're then going to push this down here. Press S to make this somewhat bigger. S, and I'll press S to scale on the X axis. There we go. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, we're going to add in some spheres to work on her glutes. So what we're going to do is hold Shift, press A. This brings up our Add To menu. We're going to go to Mesh, Round Cube, Operator Presets, and then down to Quad Sphere. So we'll left click, push that down. I'll pull it to the side. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Pull this back. I'll press S to scale to make that bigger. I'll press S to scale on the x-axis. I'll press, so I've held the middle mouse button to rotate towards the side. I'm going to press S to scale on the y-axis. I'm going to go to the lower right to select the right orthographic view. I'm going to press R to rotate on the x-axis. So you kind of want this like, it's kind of pointed up. When you push this in, you want to make sure you have enough depth, actually, so that this shows through the different pieces of the mesh. Okay, with this selector, we're going to right click, select Shade Smooth. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm also going to go up to Edit. Right now we have this Lock Objects Modes without a check mark here so that we can switch between objects. I'm going to put the check mark back here. Just checking to make sure it's back so that we can easily select our objects and join them together. I'm going to select here, right click, select Shade Smooth. So what I want to do now is I'm going to select the different pieces on this body, and then I'm going to select this ear that has the mirror, and I'm going to make these different pieces acquire that mirror modifier along with the mirror using the empty. So to do that, I'll select here, I'll hold Shift, letting go of Shift to rotate the mouse. We didn't get that ball there, which I didn't think we got. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back, holding Shift. Okay, and these actually already have it. So we need this, this, as well as this. This. Hold the middle mouse button, rotate, as well as this. Let go of Shift. I'm holding the middle mouse button, rotate. So now with all of those objects selected, we hold Shift and then lastly select this ear. I'm going to let go of Shift. Okay, with all the objects selected in that order, I'm going to hold Control, press L. This brings up our Make Links menu. I'm going to then select Modifiers. Then I'm going to left click to deselect. So basically what happened was this ear had the mirror modifier on it. It had the mirror object on it. It was just the empty. So I selected objects, made them copy the modifier of the ear, as well as having this empty selected on that modifier. Okay, I'm going to go to the lower right, select front, go towards the butt. So I can push this towards itself now. See this, how this line comes here? This should be down. That's kind of helps the position. As you should be able to see just slightly from the front, that area. I'm going to try to rotate this to get rid of that. So I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z-axis. I'm going to press S to scale this up some, like that. I'm going to zoom back, then left click to deselect. Go back to front view. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so we have our major pieces. I'm holding the middle mouse button, just taking a look. Okay, we're going to make some adjustments. I'm going to zoom in by rolling my mouse. I'm going to go to the upper right, select the hand, select the ears, press S to scale them down some. Use the manipulator to push them down some. We're going to go into more detail when we sculpt the face. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z-axis to rotate them back some. Push them in more. Press S to scale them down some more. I'll left click to deselect. When I select this button, I can select what you see on the screen. So normally if I select it here, I would select the sphere that's in front, however, not that. When I select this button, the X-ray button, I can select all that you see here. So I'm going to go to front view. I'm going to hold the control button, hold the right mouse button. This lets me draw a lasso select. So I was able to select all of that geometry. I'm going to turn this off just because I like how things look better with that off. I'm going to push this in some like that. I'm going to select here. I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis like that. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button, select the hand, press S to scale on the Y-axis, not the X. S to scale on the Y like that. Left click to lock in, zoom back. Okay, I want to increase the geometry to make things easier to work. We're going to go to our upper right, go to overlay, go to wireframe so we can see the geometry. We're going to use the remesh technique to increase the geometry. Typically, this is set to 0.01 by default for voxel remesh. We want this to be, okay, there it goes, 0.01. We want this to be 0.05. So 0.1 will give us less geometry than 0.05. 0.05 gives us more. So that's what we want to do here. So I'll zoom in so you can see this. I'm going to select the hand to move the view down. I'm going to select voxel remesh. You can see there, more geometry. That's what we want. Same thing here. So we'll do this again, 0.05. Voxel remesh. We'll select here. Same thing, 0.05. Press enter. Voxel remesh. Same thing, 0.05. Press enter. Voxel remesh. We'll select here. Select here. 0.05. Press enter. Voxel remesh. Same thing here as well. 0.05. Press enter and then voxel remesh. So we should be good for that. We'll leave this how it is for now. We'll go back up to the overlays. We'll turn off that wireframe now. We'll select here, right click, select shade smooth. Select here, right click, select shade smooth. Select here, right click, shade smooth. I'll left click to deselect. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edit. I'm going to turn off or take away this check mark for lock object modes. I'm going to select here. I'm selecting here because you can see like roughness right there, right? I'm going to hold shift, press B. This lets us draw a zoom box. We'll zoom right in there and roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. We'll go to the upper left, go to scope mode. I'll press F to make the brush bigger. I press F and I pull my mouse to the side. I'm going to hold shift, left click. When I hold shift, I automatically go to the smooth brush. There we go. This brush activates automatically when I hold the smooth brush. It's very useful. I'm going to hold Alt, then left click, letting go of Alt. This took us back to there. We're going to go back to scope mode. Blender pretty much remembers the last mode you were in, so I went into object mode. That's when I held Alt, this went to object mode instead of sculpt. Anyway, I'm going to hold Shift to smooth that out. Zoom in back, but roll the mouse. Selecting a hand to change the view. I go back to object mode. Left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, we're going to get ready to join the different pieces together with the exception of the head, the hand, as well as the feet. What we need to do is we need to get off or apply the mirror modifier. Now, normally, you would select, I'm looking at this right here. I'm just going to press S to scale in the Z axis. Shrink that. Anyway, we're not going to that directly now. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we want to get all of our objects to have the mirror modifier applied. So there's a way that we can do that. So I'm going to select the ear, hold Shift. So why are we doing this? I'm holding Shift, selecting all these objects. We're doing this because I let go of Shift to hold the middle mouse button to rotate, holding Shift again, letting go of Shift, hold the middle mouse button to rotate, holding Shift again. Oh, look at that. Okay. So this is where this actually can be an issue. So we're going to go back to object mode, select edit, put the check mark there to lock object modes so we can continue selecting the rest of our body. When we join these pieces together, we want to, we don't want to have a mirror modifier on here. So it looks like we have all of those pieces. So even though I said we're not going to join the head, the hands, or feet, we still want to have the mirror modifier applied. Previously, I would have selected each piece, went apply, selected, apply, selected, apply, selected, apply. Now I know that we can go to object, we can go to apply, and then we can go to visual geometry to mesh. So I'll left click. So now when I select an object, you can see the mirror modifier has been applied, which is excellent. Okay, I want to make some adjustments to the upper as well as the lower arm here. A couple of things to realize. See this point right here? When I'm selected here, both of these two pieces make up the one object. This is the origin point. It's currently on this arm, right? I'm going to hold Control, press A, which brings up our apply menu. Select rotation as well as scale. That didn't deal with the origin point. However, for sculpting to work well as far as symmetry, I need to have this be in between these two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Object, Set Origin, Geometry, wait a second, Origin to Geometry, which puts the origin point right in the center. So now with this dot, which is the origin point, now when I go to the upper left, to go to Sculpt Mode, I can turn on Symmetry. Before I was showing you symmetry here. It's the same thing. This as well as this is the same thing. This is a better place to work with symmetry because it's right there in front of you. I just often forget about that. Anyway, with that done, I'm going to press F, move my mouse to shrink the brush. I'm going to go to the inflate brush, zoom in here, go to the mouse to adjust the view to better work right here. I'm increasing the bicep mass. That's what I want to do. Oh, I'm on the lower. Okay. I forgot I'm on the lower part of it. So I'm increasing the forearm mass. So this is a female character. However, she should have some muscle in her forearms. So I think I did that too much on the lower. So I'll press F, shrink, hold Control, which does the opposite of, inflate. So I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode, select here. Oops, see this? There's the origin point. So I need to go to Object, Set Origin. I want that origin point not to be an arm like you currently see it. I want it to be in the center. So I select origin to geometry. It's in the center. Now we can sculpt and be fine with it. So we'll go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode. I thought I had, I guess I didn't. Hold control, press A. This brings up our apply menu, select rotation as well as scale. Go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode. And pretty much same thing as before. It's a female character. However, she should have some kind of bicep as well as tricep muscles. I didn't like how things were straight there. I'm going to go back to object mode, select here. Go back to sculpt mode, simply because that little piece there is bothering me. So I'm holding shift to smooth it out. Not that it particularly matters that much now, but it was bothering me. Anyway, yeah, so for the most part, I'm good on how the rest of the body looks. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode, left click to deselect. Okay, we're going to join these pieces together. I'm going to select the hand to adjust the view so I can see the whole body. We want pretty much everything except for the head, the hands, and the feet. We'll go over to this x-ray. The reason why we select this x-ray is if I select a piece in the front, typically you won't select what's in back, right? I want to select everything, what's in the front, as well as what's in the back. So I'll turn on this x-ray. Very important. When I first was learning 3D, I used to get, you can also do it by going to wireframe, but I remember just, I don't know, struggling with that. So it's a good way when you want to select everything. We're going to use a loop to select most of this. So we're going to hold control, hold the right mouse button to draw a loop. So I'm trying to make sure I grab these here while dodging the, I didn't get that as well. I let go of control. I'm going to hold control again, hold the right mouse button. Interesting. So I'll hold shift, select there. So now I have that. I'll select here. So I'm going to turn off this x-ray so I can see what's going on. So we don't look like we have the knees. We want them. So I'm holding shift. So now we have the knees. We have the elbows there. So I think that we're good as far as selecting what we currently want to join. Okay, so you might say, well, why do you want to join everything except the hands and the feet? When we sculpt details into the character, one of the nice things is the smooth tool is very useful. I learned that from Zacharias Reinhardt a while ago. With sculpting, is very extremely. We don't have the chest here. I'll hold shift. I just held the middle mouse button to rotate. Anyway, oh wow, we don't have this either. Okay. Yeah, the smooth modifier, not tool, smooth modifier is very useful for making your sculpts look better. It does a lot of the work for you. At least that's how I think of it. However, when you use the smooth modifier, things like your hands as well as your feet tend to become smooth to the point where they don't look as good. So I recommend you work with this part of the body. The smooth modifier tends to make it look much better. And then once you have most of this done, then you can bring the hands as well as the feet in. So that's why we are joining all of these pieces together and leaving the other pieces out. So with all that being said, we're going to hold control, then press J. All right. So all of these pieces are now the same object. Okay, when I say these pieces are the same object, I mean in a Blender sense they're the same object. If we go into edit mode, all of these pieces are separate pieces inside of an object, okay? We need these pieces to actually be joined together now. So putting them into what I call one object, like a Blender object, even though they're separate inside of edit mode, we need to actually have them be one piece. There used to be a fairly complicated process I used to use, which was the Boolean modifier. At the time, I think that's pretty much what you had to do. Now I use the remesh, which is what we've been using so far to add as well as change geometry. Remesh actually, it also works as far as joining the objects together. It is spectacular. So we're going to go to the green triangle. We're going to use Vox remesh. Quad remesh is used for, if you're interested, is used for doing kind of like a quick form of retopology in a sense. However, for what we're doing now, the Vox remesh is what we need. we want for this now, we actually want this to be, you know what, we are going to use, you can use 0.1 just so you know. We're going to go ahead and use 0.05. Be careful when you use the voxel remesh. If your computer is, if you're concerned about the speed of your computer, you might want to use, for what we're going to do here, 0.01. If you're fine with the speed of your computer, this should be fine. All right. So we're going to select voxel remesh. Now we can see that, you can see like kind of like this, like our object is joined together now, which is what we want and what we need to do to move forward. Sometimes if you hear me pause, like when I'm saying something, I can almost hear comments like in my head. So I'm trying to like preemptively do things, as far as people saying comments, like I'll pause. Like I'm like that thing I was just saying, I'm like, what we need, what do we really need to do this way? I'm like, actually this is my way of moving forward, but it's not a need to move forward. There could be another way to move forward. Anyway, so with this done here, right? So we have, all of this stuff. So remember what I was telling you about the smooth modifier? Watch this. We go to the wrench. We go to the modifier tab. We go to smooth to put a smooth modifier on. We select here. We change this factor to 1. We press enter. Let's change this factor to 30. Just like that, already things start to look good, right? This factor, we're going to probably apply this numerous times. You might say, why don't you take the factor out more than 1? Things get out of control. The way I'm showing you here, things stay in control for the most part. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply this, right? So we automatically, got a bunch of smoothness out of here. And we're probably going to use this smooth modifier a decent amount going forward. Okay, so knowing what I just told you about the smooth modifier, we're going to go to the upper left. We're going to go to sculpt mode. Here in sculpt mode, we're going to sculpt. And as we sculpt, don't be too concerned about things in here, because the smooth modifier it won't deal with everything, but it will take care of a lot of things. So I'm going to press the F tool. So we'll go here. Actually, we should be able to use the blob brush. We'll hold control. See how much geometry. Yeah, we should be good for that. So when we look, if you want to see how much geometry we have beneath my mouse, triangles, 371,488 triangles, right? No, that's why. There we go. I was wondering why the blob brush wasn't doing more what I wanted to do. So we'll hold shift. So remember what I told you, like don't get too when you see things here, don't let it get to you too much, because smooth modifier won't do everything, but it'll do. So I'm holding shift right here. Okay, I'm going to go to I'm on the crease brush. So I want to put a crease down the center here. I'm going to go to the blob brush, hold the middle mouse button, rotate, press F to shrink. This even smaller. Again, as you're doing this, don't expect the smooth tool to do everything, but it will help out. All right, so I want to put a line. Yeah. Oops. Not that. I'll hold shift. Smooth that out. Ugh, that's somewhat frustrating. You think you selected the brush, but you didn't. Let's go to the drill sharp. Go to the grab brush. Make this bigger. Shift. Crease brush. Here. Not in the center of the back. Thinking of the, some of the things you see pop up in the back, like the clavicle bones. Again, where a lot of this will be, should be, smoothed out. I'm just adding some muscle to her back. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate. The smooth tool tends to make things shrink down some. So if you want to change your proportions, this elastic to brush, elastic to form works excellently. I want to just pull this up some here. And hold shift. Should have did that before. Just think of her shoulders. Not too much. Trying to make the calves. I noticed this here. So when you have to do a big move, I would say use the grab brush. So this needs to go in like this. And this is basically me just adjusting geometry more to a way that I know, how it should be. General shape of the legs. Again, the smooth tool, the smooth modifier should help us out. I'm going to change the view with the hand. Hold shift, smooth this out some. And what we can start to do, certain things, like if we want to adjust, like here, we can go to our mask brush. We select what we want to adjust, holding the middle mouse button to rotate. Actually, I'm going to hold control to take off. So I'm going to top that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting what I want to adjust, right? Then I'm going to hold control and then press I. So I have everything but that. So I can only select what doesn't have the mask on it. So I'm just going to select this. Press F. I'm doing this because these shouldn't be, they should be affected by gravity somewhat. They're more like a teardrop than circles. So I'm going to hold Alt, press M. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button, rotate, hold Shift. Smoothing that top there. Smoothing that there. Still an elastic to form. Just bringing this in slightly. On the mouse wheel to zoom back. Okay, let's go zoom in. We'll select the hand to adjust the view. Holding them in the mouse button to rotate. Go to object mode. Let's put on a smooth modifier factor. Change this to 1. We'll change this to 20 at first. Let's change it to 30. So we can select the monitor to see the difference. And hopefully you see what I mean with how much help this gives you. So I'm going to apply that. Okay, currently we're at 371,488 triangles. If I go to the upper right to overlay, select wireframe, you can see this is what we have here, right? I want to take the geometry up some, so I'm going to change this to 0.04, press enter, and then select voxel remesh. That took us up to 478,780 triangles. If you look beneath my mouse, beneath where you see the word geometry, you should see the triangles. That's what I'm talking about. When I left click to deselect, I'm going to go to the upper right and then turn off this wireframe. I'm going to zoom it back, adjust the view with the hand. Go to the upper left, go to scope mode. Here in scope mode, I want to emphasize the rib cage more. So that's what I'm doing here. Trying to make this more prominent. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go to this crease. Crease is very, very good for making hard surfaces. I find that hard surfaces on organic models tends to be more of a stylistic look, but I find that it helps them a lot, even if you're not planning on keeping. So basically the way I sharpen models up is I kind of dig in with the crease, and then I go near that crease line with the crease brush. So when I hold control, I make a brush come out. That's how I'm getting the hard line there. When I let go, the regular is in. And you can see this right here. See this minus? This means crease brush will dig in. This means we'll select plus. So when I hold control, it doesn't show it switch, but the crease brush comes out. So what you see me doing here, I'm planning on, a lot of this should go away when we put another smooth modifier on here. But I'm going to define what we have here basically by adding, in a sense, hard surface to this, or harder surface is probably a better way of putting it. So a lot places where I think that there should be, more creases, I'll do that. So that's what's going on here. So like I'm looking at this being like a circle, right? So I'm just increasing the heart line around there. Now I'm looking here, so I'm kind of emphasizing the shapes, if you will. Is my thought process right now. A pretty defining muscle here, like the sartorius muscle comes down here. So that's kind of like my thought for there. You have 3 heads to your leg muscles. Prominent heads, the vastus medialis should come like right here. I'm not expecting this to stay here. I'm expecting most of this to go. So you might be like, well, why are you doing it then? It seems it being the lines seem to not stay, if you will. But it's like the hints of them you can kind of see, if that makes sense. If you're working with models where they feel like too soft, or like it seems like it's lacking character to me, that it seems like the models they don't have enough hard edges to them, or the hint of it, I guess, is it. So when I try to not, oops, wrong thing. Try to not holding control. Spent too much time here. Like I said, I do expect a smooth brush to take away most of this. I just want the hint of it left. I'm defining the bicep, putting a hard line here, and the way I do things is a hard line, and then I have control. So I go next to that hard line, and then I go, what's that, probably like an inch, so away from it, and it seems like it defines the muscle more. And I kind of like look where, now sometimes it's like I look where it looks too soft. And like you're probably right now like, oh, why is he doing that? He's got these hard lines that look strange. I'm expecting, like I told you, I'm expecting the smooth brush to take away a lot of this, but I'm expecting it to lose, to keep the hints of what's here. Same thing. So you see I'm doing the same thing over again. There's the hard line, and then there's so this is no control. This is with control. So I'm not holding any buttons right now. I'm just showing you. But now I'm actually left clicking, and now here's control. We have this clavicle here. So it's like I'm holding control here, like this. I'm not holding control here. Here I'm letting that go in. I am holding control here. It's like spinal erectors come down there. I'm not I'm not holding control here. Not holding control. Holding control. I let go of control to rotate the view. I'm holding control again. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate. Or hamstring would be like right here. Hamstring muscles, I should say. Using the mouse to adjust the outer part should be the lower part of the calf. The same thing I dig the lines in, right? I'm using my general knowledge of anatomy as I'm doing this. I'm not too concerned about trying to, be too careful, because this should go. Now, if the thing that should allow it to go is the fact that there's not that much geometry here. When you start getting into very high geometry, the smooth modifier is not going to really change that much of your model. It's good to know for when you don't want it to change. Just defining the shape. On the mouse wheel back, turn it to the side. Okay, I'm going to hold them on the mouse button, take a look. Holding control. Not holding control. Held them in the mouse button to rotate the view. Holding control. Not holding control. All right. Okay, so let's go to object mode. The wrench. We're going to add a smooth modifier. We're going to take the factor to 1. Let's go right to 30. Select the monitor so we can see. I'll apply that. I think I want a little bit more smoothness. I'm going to add another smooth modifier. Take the factor to 1. Let's try 20. Let's try 30. I'm going to apply that. One more time. 1, 30. There we go. I like that. You can see the muscle. It's more of a hint of it. So we'll select apply. I'm going to go to scope mode. Just emphasizing some of the lines. Holding control. Not holding control. Not holding control. Not holding control. Holding control. Not holding control. Holding control. Holding control, holding shift to smooth that out some. That smooth brush. Let's change this to 0.2. There we go. I was doing too good of a job. Yeah, I like that. So 0.2. Now, some of this, when you're looking at this too, some of it is because of that cavity. One of the things you want to do at this point is you can change your basic proportions. Okay, let's start to work on the face. So we're going to go to the upper left. Go back to object mode. I'm going to press C for paint select so we can select the hands. I'll right click, come out of paint select. Let's press H to hide that. Select here, press H to hide that as well. I'm going to hover over to the upper left hand side. I'm going to hold Shift, then press B to draw a zoom box. Zoom in on the face. I'm going to hold them in a mouse button to rotate towards the side. See, this right here is pretty much our eye line. Let's take this ear, make that so that the top of the ear, basically, if you imagine a line going back through here, the top of the ear touches that eye line. I'm going to hold them in a mouse button to rotate towards the front. I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to the hand towards the upper left hand corner to move over to the side. I'm gonna hold shift, press A, which brings up our add to menu. I'm going to go to round cube. That's just what I want. So I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis like this. I'm going to use this for our nose. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis like this. You can see when I rotate it towards the side, I just held the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis like this. You don't want to make this too thin. We want this to go back in the head some. We're going to push this down. So see this right here. We're going to use this as like the main part of the nose. So we're going to press R to rotate on the X axis like this. See how, like when I rotated this, normally if I press S to scale on the Z axis, see how that line is going up and down, so I won't be able to scale in an easy way. If I press Z again, you see that, so that allows you to scale more easily. With this nose, you want it not coming out too far. We're going to add other pieces to the nose. I'm going to left click to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn towards the side. I'm going to bring this down slightly lower. The reason why I like to make a nose like this is, I mean, you can build it up from clay. Most of the people that I see sculpt, that's how they do it. I like the block out method. This gives you the main structure of the nose fairly easily. It's fairly quick. So that's why I do this instead of just, you know, taking a clay strip or building up the nose that way. Like when I say that way, I mean clay strips or something like that while in sculpting mode. Okay, we're going to bring in another piece of mesh. We're going to hold shift, press A, mesh, round cube. We'll go to the this menu that pops up here, this operator presets, as we've done before. In this tutorial, down to quad sphere. So then what we're going to do is press S to scale this down. This is actually right in the center. My 3D cursor is right in the center of the mesh, which is useful for when you're sculpting. If I hold shift and right click, my 3D cursor is over here. Where I would bring the objects in would be over here. To get this back, you would hold shift, press C, and then your 3D cursor goes right back towards the center. I'm going to hold shift, press B, draw a zoom box to zoom back in. So yeah, being in the center is useful because like I want this to be exactly in the center. What this is this is going to be like the ball that's on the front of your nose. I'll press S to shrink that down. And bringing your objects directly in the center is very useful. So with this this ball, the way I have the nose set up, right, you don't want this going like to the bottom. You want this the little piece at the bottom being there. How you see me have it. I'm going to press S, like that, slightly smaller. Okay, with this selected, I'm going to hold shift, press D, right click, bring this to the side. We're going to use this as a nostril. We're going to press S to scale this down, not too much, slightly down. We're going to pull it back slightly. We're going to push it down slightly. I want this to be exactly mirrored on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I have the wrench selected. I'm going to go to add modifier. I'm going to select mirror. We already have an empty set up, so we'll select the empty. So now this mirrors right to the other side. This also, because we have this mirrored by the empty, it also gives me the ability to actually push in like that. Okay, I want more geometry for this right here. If I go to the overlays and select wireframe, you can see like there's barely any geometry in there, right? So what I can do is turn this off. I'll select here. I'm going to go to this green, looks like a green triangle with circles on it. I'll go to voxel remesh and then just select voxel remesh. So now when you look, you can see there's a decent amount of geometry. If you're wondering why I didn't just leave this wireframe on, when I see the wireframe, a lot of times it makes me think I'm in edit mode. It's small movement to go up, turn it off. So yeah, now that has geometry. I wanted the geometry because I want to bend this in slightly. So I'm holding the mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, when you're working on the facial features, similar to other things, sometimes you want it to be like overemphasized somewhat because we'll probably use a smooth modifier on that. On this, I'm going to hold shift, select here. I'm going to press S to make this smaller. I press S to scale and the X-axis to make that smaller. I'm going to go with this selected. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode. Up. I need to apply hold the mouse button to rotate. I need to hold control, press A. This means bar apply menu, and then select rotation as well as scale. Now I'll go back to sculpt mode. So I just wanted to bend that in. Bring this. I think I'm actually... Yeah, I'm good with that. As far as I know, this is like exactly in the center. Okay, I just moved that because I was like looking at how it was. It looks like it's off to the side some. I don't even know how that's possible. Not that it's that big of a deal, but suppose you're off to the side, you move this like I think I did. You can hold shift, press S. This brings up your snap to menu, and then you want to go to selection to cursor, keep offset. There's this. This should definitely be in the center now. And you just put it back into place. Yeah, I must have moved it somehow. So yeah, that's back in the center now. That being this piece right here. I'm gonna select here, press S to scale on the X-axis, something like there. I'll select this, press S to scale on the Z-axis here. Move that up some like that. I'll press S to scale on the X-axis there. Pull this back some. Okay, I'll hold the mouse button, rotate towards the front. We're going to go to Shift, press A. This brings up our mesh, our Add To menu. We're going to go to Mesh, Round Cube, Operator Presets, down to Quad Sphere. There we go. Use this to make eyeball as well as eyelids. What you want to do is bring this in. See how like this material is here? Don't let that get you. We'll deal with that. You want to get a general sense. You don't have to have an exact eye in the center, but basically your eyes should be about enough distance to have an eye in the center. What we're going for here is more stylistic than realistic, so I want my eyes to be a decent size. So to get a better view of this, with this selected, we'll go to the modifier. We'll go to add a mirror modifier. We'll select mirror object. Use an empty. Now we have 2 eyeballs. Okay, the eyeballs help us to adjust the rest of the face. So when I look at the eyeballs, I'm like, oh, the nose is kind of low. I'm going to select all of this, move the nose up. Good with that for now. Seeing that, I'm going to press S to scale in the Z axis. With this selected, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to scope mode, up. Control A. This brings up our apply menu, select rotation as well as scale. Go to the upper left, go to scope mode. Here in scope mode, I like to use the elastic deform to change things because elastic deform lets you change things without doing too much. First, I have to shrink that down some. I'll pull this up to the side some. So you can see just by doing that, the eyes look better there. So we'll select this. We went back to object mode, press S to scale in the X-axis. Left click to deselect. As I sit here now, the thoughts that are going through my mind, I'm surprised that the eyes were formed so well just by pulling this back. I mainly want it just to go back. As I'm looking here now, I'm thinking about this piece. When you're dealing with females, typically their faces are shorter than males, so that's what I'm thinking about when I look here. I actually like the size of the eyes since we're going for a more stylistic look. As far as the nose, generally I want the nose to fall between the eyes, so I'll probably shrink this right now. Other than that, at the point that we're currently at, I like where we're going. We're going to need to, come in here and depress this, make the eyelid. So that's just what I'm thinking about as I look here. Look at what we have so far. So I think I'm going to select the eyes. I'm going to press S to scale. Down. Pull them to the side slightly. I'm going to select here. Hold Shift. Press S to scale. Oh, wait a second. Is that why I'm... Okay, I'm going to go to scale this down. Just to be careful, I'm going to go to the pivot point. I'm going to set this to individual origins. Then I press S to scale. Down like that. Left click. I'll select here. Push this in. So when I'm pushing this in, I'm looking at the distance between the eyes. Typically in a face you want to have, the eyes there should be an eye that's able to be in part, be like in the middle. This is stylistic though. So this is going so far forward. Now I'm going to press S just to scale that down some, like that. I'm going to left click to deselect. Okay, we're about to join the nose into one piece. We need to select the nostril here. Apply the mirror modifier. If we didn't apply that when we join the nostrils to the nose, one nostril would disappear. I'm going to select here first, hold Shift, select here, still holding Shift. I'm going to select there last. I'm letting go of Shift. Now I'm going to hold Control, then press J. So now the nose is all one object. I'm going to left click to deselect. I'm going to reselect the nose. The reason why I joined the nose up as one object rather than join the nose to the whole head is the nose tends to have it needs finer detail. I'm going to use remesh. I don't want to lose the detail on the nose. I actually want to lose some detail because I want the nose to look more meshed together. I'm actually planning on remesh helping the nose to look better. However, the nose right now is going to need more detail than the face when we join the face together. So we're going to go to the green triangle. For this, we're actually going to put in 0.02 and then press enter to lock that in. Then we'll select the voxel remesh. That was fast. So now the nose is has the remesh on it. The nose is also all actually one object now. I'm going to pull this back just slightly. I pulled this back because I want the nostril when we join the nose to the face to be part of the face. So when I'm in the mouse button taking a look, I'm going to left click to deselect. Okay, we're going to select the bottom of the face, hold shift, select the top of the head. We're going to hold control, press J. That makes them one object. We're about to use remesh. The typical remesh sizes I use are 0.1, 0.05 for more detail, 0.02, 0.01 for extreme detail, 0.005. So what we're going to do now is go to 0.05, then press enter. We're then going to select remesh. So now that's joined together. Everything's joined together. We still have a decent amount of detail in the face. As I learn more, I come up with different things. Like the way that I model things now is a lot different than I modeled. When I say model, I mean modeled, sculpt a year ago. So I'm coming up with new techniques, new things. I'm learning still as I go. What we're going to do is select here, hold shift, select here. I'm saying that to say that the things I'm showing you are what I currently know. I think are the best techniques now. Time period from now, I could be using a different method. Right now, currently, this is the methods that I think work best and how I'd like to make things. Okay, so I selected the nose first. I selected the face second. I'm going to hold control, then press J. So now the nose is one piece with this. We need to use remesh. So because we have the nose now, we're actually going to make this .01, then press enter. So I'll select voxel remesh. So we're able to bring the nose in, have it connected without losing too much detail on the nose. If you're watching me do this tutorial, you're like, oh, he could have skipped this step or he could have done this. There's a good chance that you're right. We probably could have skipped the last step. If you see me doing something and you're like, yeah, this would work, I think massively better. Let me send me a comment. Let me know. Anyway, okay, so we have this, right? One of the things I think that's important is having a line go from here down to the nose, right? This also give us more of what we need for the eyes right here. So with this selected, we're going to, before we do anything, let's hold control, press A. This brings up our apply menu, select rotation and scale. Now we'll go to the upper left. We will go to sculpt mode. Okay, so I like the blob brush. So I'm going to go to the blob brush. I'm going to press F to shrink my brush. I'm going to push in this area here, so I'm going to press F to shrink my brush more. I'm going to hold in control. You look up here, see this plus as well as this minus. The blob brush by default is set up to bring mesh out. I want it to come in, so I'm going to hold control. You could also do that by going to the minus button arrow. So I'm holding control, left clicking. See how when I push this, like you can see more of the eye, that's a lot of what I wanted. I'm going to press F. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm going to go to the crease brush now. I'm going to hold control. Now the crease brush is the opposite. The crease brush goes in by default. I want to have it the plus, so I'm going to hold the control, go to here. As far as this joining together, we'll probably use a smooth brush on this. So a lot of this work will be done for us by the smooth brush, smooth modifier. Smooth brush as well as the modifier at first, more the smooth modifier most likely. Okay, we're going to go back to the object mode. We're going to the upper left of the screen. Object mode, we're going to select the eyes. We're going to right click, select shade smooth. We're also going to go to the lower right of the screen, select view global / local. Well, I didn't know the eyes were that close together. I'm going to select front to go to front view. All right, so I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. Here in edit mode, what I'm going to do, I have this whole thing selected. I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to hold shift and then press D. I'm going to right click. I have two of these rounded cubes on top of each other. You can't see the rounded cube because it's, totally in the same position as this. So what I want to do is shrink this, right? I used to do it manually. Now I found that it's easier just to know the number. So if I press S1, that means this is like the same scale as this. If I press S.1, then the rounded cube will go to 90%. So think of 0.9 as being 90% so if I press S to scale 0.9, I'm doing 90% of this right here. That's what we're about to do. So we have the duplicated cube selected. We're going to press S point. Oops. Right click. I apologize. I had this on. You don't want that on. I'm going to press O to turn that off. Now we're going to press S.9 and then press enter to lock that in. So you can't see that sphere that's inside here. It is inside. It should be 90%. The reason why we made it 90% is that's a pretty decent size. We can change it later, which we might do to make the eyelids thicker. So currently what's inside of here, which we can't see right now, will be the eye, right? This, what we can see, would be the eyelid. So we'll left click to deselect that rounded cube that we couldn't currently see. We'll go to the upper left. We'll go to edge select. We're going to hold Alt, then left click. I'm letting go of Alt. That let us select this entire edge right there. Now we're going to move beneath that edge, right? The reason why we're moving beneath that edge is we're going to press the V key. That's going to rip. It's going to disconnect this edge. Now where your mouse is at is where like what you can grab, like where it's connected from. So I want to be able to it's important to know. I want to be able to move this down just slightly, right? So when I press V, which I haven't done yet, when I move down, this would move down. I would be connected in the sense to this bottom. If I was on the top, it would be connected in the sense to the top. Actually, in this instance, it's not that important. However, I do want you to know about it. Anyway, I'm going to press V to rip. So when I move down, see how I'm connected to like the bottom piece, right? So what I'm going to do is right click to go get that to go right back. I'm going to left click to deselect. Even though this looks like this is the same, this is separated, right? So we'll go to phase select, right? So what I'm going to do is go to the right view. I'm going to hover here. When I hover here, I can press the L key to select all of this geometry, right? Actually, I'm going to press L to select this geometry as well because I want the 3D cursor here. I want to be able to rotate this outer sphere, these pieces, and this is what's going to make up our eyelids. So what I'm going to do is with these two pieces selected is I'm going to hold shift, press S. This brings up our snap to menu. I'm then going to choose cursor to selected. The 3D cursor is right here. That's good because now I can go up to the pivot point. The default pivot point is the median point, by the way. We had this on individual origins because I just didn't turn it back when we last did it. Anyway, we want to set this to the 3D cursor. We're going to left click to deselect. We're going to hover here, press L, and then with this here, this 3D cursor, as well as this set to pivot on the 3D cursor, we can pivot this in a way that is useful to us. So we're going to press R. We're pivoting this down, right? Reason why we're pivoting this down is to have the your bottom eyelid. So we're going to left click to deselect. We're going to hover here, press L. So now we're going to I'm moving my mouse over here just so I'm like thinking I can rotate like that. If you're very close to like an eyelid when you rotate in Blender, a lot of times it's more difficult. If you give yourself some space, it's easier. So I'm going to press R to rotate like this. So this is the eye right here. These are the eyelids basically. So I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to edge select. The reason why when I'm about to thicken these up manually, the reason why I'm currently not using solidified at this point to thicken the eyelids. Like you'll see that people would, you might see this like, well, you can use solidify for it. I like this hard edge right here. I want to see the hard edge. Currently, the best way I know to get the hard edge of this eyelid is what I'm about to show you now. That being said, I found that we're eventually going to need to use remesh on this. I find that if you don't put a solidify on this, remesh doesn't work. So we'll probably use solidify later. Anyway, I'm going to hold Alt, left click, right? I let go of Alt. Let us select this entire loop. I'm going to press E to extrude and then right click. When I extruded, I made more geometry there. I'm going to press S to scale, decent amount, because I want to have fairly thick eyelids. I'm going to left click to deselect, hold Alt, select here, right? Let go of Alt. So now I'm going to press E to extrude, right click. I right click to get this to stay right in place. I have new geometry here. It doesn't look like there's anything, but there's a new edge right on top. Because there's a new edge, I can press S to scale and then scale that edge in. That's how you see that thickness right there. The hardness I was telling you about is I'm going to hold Alt, select here, let go of Alt. Now I'm going to hold Control, press B, drag my mouse very slightly. There's two edges there, right? I'm going to roll my mouse one time. Then I'm going to left click. So now we have three edges there, or two segments, I should say. That should give me a hard line there. I'm going to have this piece here. When I select this little piece is selected, I didn't want it to. I'm going to hold Alt, left click, select here. Now that piece is deselected. I'm going to hold Control, press B. So I keep the segments, those two segments, because I did that there previously. So I'm going to left click to deselect. I actually want the eyelids to look thicker. So what I'm going to do is select here, press L, and then I'm going to press S.9 and then left click. So I had already scaled this down. So then I scaled it down to 90% of what it currently is. I did that because I wanted the eyelids to be thicker. I'm going to left click to deselect. I'm going to go to View Global / Local to bring back the rest of our geometry. Okay, we can see this is in the head. Remember I was showing you like to go in. So what we're going to do is look to the side. We're going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. With this selected, we should be able to push this forward some, not too much. Be careful of here. You really don't want to push past here. So now what we can do is we can left click here, go to the upper left, then go to sculpt mode. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to shape the face more. We're also going to push this geometry in so we can see more of the eyes. So I like the blob brush. I don't see people use the blob brush too much. I like it because it's quick. Anyway, I'm going to hold control. Blob brush comes out instead of going in. So when I hold control, I automatically, in a sense, it's like I switch this, even though you won't see this switch, right? So I'm looking at this. I'm not doing anything now. I'm just moving so you can see, right? This area right here, I want to push that in. All right, so I'm going to press hold control, then left click. We actually need more distance here. So I'm going to hold control, hold shift, and then I'm going to left click and drag. What I should be doing now, I think what I'm doing is drawing a mask. I am drawing a mask. Okay, we want to push this in. I also realize this needs to be up higher for what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold control, hold shift, then left click as well as drag to put a mask right here. So I let go of left click. I'm now letting go of shift as well as control. I'm going to hold control, hold shift again, which lets me add to the mask. Okay, so I want to move this up higher, right? I wanted the eye to be protected. Remember, this isn't part of the mesh right now, so this won't be affected. This is outside of the mesh. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to the elastic deform. I'm going to press F. I want distance here, so I'm going to left click and drag. Smooth modifier should deal with that, as well as we can also remesh. So see that stretching right there? We're going to go to remesh. We have the steel set to 0.1. We'll select voxel remesh. So a lot of that, you can see like the geometry helps. This smooth modifier should deal with that. Okay, so with that done, now we can go ahead and work here. So actually what I'll do is I'll hold shift. Before doing that, shrink this down. Hold shift. Smooth that out some. As you add in features, sometimes as you add the features, then you can see, like, I'm like, okay, this is too low. That needs to be higher. You can see that largely from the eyes as well as the eyelids. Okay, we want to kind of dig in here now, so we're going to go to the blob brush. We're going to zoom in. I'm going to press F. Not that small. I'm going to hold control, then left click. So we're probably going to have to shrink these eyes. Eyes are too big. No way you're getting an eye in between there. So we're going to go to object mode. We'll select here. We're going to press S to scale. So now we'll pull to the side out. So when I'm pulling to the side, you should be able to get another eye inside here. So now when I shrunk this kind of made the eyes go back. So I'm going to push it forward just slightly. You don't want to go past there, right? So we'll go back. I selected here. So we're selected on that mesh. We'll go back to scope mode. We're still on the blob brush. Hold control. I'm gonna hold shift. Just move this. I'm actually gonna go to inflate. So I don't want there being like a hole in the bottom there. I'll hold control for the inflate here. I'll go to the elastic deform. Pull that in some like that. So I want the eye to show. I don't want to... Oh. Thought it was selected on there. I also don't want to... Yeah, there'll be spaces in between the eyes. So. Alright, what I'm going to do is adjust how the eyelids sit on the eyes now. So, I'm going to go to Object Mode, select the eyes. I'm actually going to go to Edit Mode. On Face Select, I'm going to hover here, press L, hover here, press L. And then what I'm going to do is press P. This brings up our separate menu. I'm going to select selection. So what I did was I just made the eyelids be a separate object from the eye, which is good. I tried to left click to deselect. These are a separate object, so they're not going to be deselected. We'll go to the upper left. We'll go to object mode. So that's good because now we can adjust the eyelids without being concerned about affecting the eye. Okay, so I'm going to left click to deselect. Well, I want to select here, yeah. So we'll go to scope mode. Here in scope mode, if you go to the top tool, you look down to advanced. We have topology auto masking. So what this should do is when you have two separate pieces, you can adjust one piece without affecting the other piece. At least I think that's what it does. Currently, we have symmetry on. I want to pull this down, but I don't want to pull this down as well as that on that side. So I'm going to turn off symmetry mode. So I'm going to go to elastic deform to do this. So I'm going to pull this down like that. Here, I'm actually going to press F. I'm going to select here. Pull this up like that, just down some like that. I'm just thinking as well as taking a look at it. Okay, we're going to go to the upper left. We're going to go to object mode. We're going to select our main head mesh. We're going to go back to the upper left. We're going to go to scope mode. We're going to go to the upper right. We're going to turn back on symmetry. Okay, we're about to work on the mouth. So what we want to do is you want to have a space right here. You don't want your mouth to be like right here. You want this, should be a space right here. You want to have your, chin come out some. As far as the size of the mouth, I try to make the mouth about the size of the nose. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the blob brush. So I'm going to left click, Thinking about that space that I want there, right? Okay, so why am I doing this like this? Because basically the mouth, it comes out. So what I actually can do now is be careful of the nose. As a matter of fact, what we can do is we can hold control, hold shift, left click to select this area here. And then we'll hold control, press I. So the rest of the face will be protected while we work on the mouth. So things to think about with the mouth. The upper lip that's going to be here comes out further than the lower lip. Comes out actually a lot further than the lower lip. The way you kind of want things to go is like there should be like a line going from here like back, and then that line kind of shows you like the distance that the making this wider kind of shows you that the distance that the mouth should be. So we're going to go to the blob brush. We're going to press F to make this smaller. So we're thinking about we need this distance here, bottom lip, the chin will be there. So we're going to hold control. So what we're doing here is we want the inside of the... It's easier to work on a mouth as far as I'm concerned for... I'm actually going to take off the mask. I'm going to hold Alt, press M. That takes the mask off. See how this geometry is here? What we can do is go to remesh, select voxel remesh. Now we have more geometry to work with. It's a lot easier. I'm holding control. I'm taking to work on making basically this inside part of the mouth. It's easier to work as far as animation with a mouth being open rather than shut. So typically I'll make a mouth with it open. Often I'll make the lips shut later on. However, that inside of the mouth is still there, which is useful. So that's what I'm doing now. So basically I go to the back of the mouth, right? So I get depth here, then I aim up, then I get depth like kind of like past the opening of the mouth. Go to the side, I get depth like there, depth down. So when we start doing this, the geometry starts, get stretched out. We go back to voxel remesh. It remembers we have that 0.01. Then we can keep sculpting. Okay, I'm going to go to the inflate brush. Obviously, the character looks strange. It's kind of something you're probably going to have to go through to get to what you want. It is what it is. It's not done, so. So I'm using an inflate brush in a sense to like make the mouth shut more. I'll go to the crease brush, start to put a line in between the upper as well as the bottom lip. I'll go to voxel remesh, select that. That voxel remesh is really good. I'll go to inflate. So typically when I'm doing, like, if you're like, this thing, I'll overemphasize the features so that I can then bring them down, as you've seen me do again and again. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold control, hold shift, left click, drag. So I did that so I can work just on this. The way I can do that is I'm going to hold control, press I. So now I can work just with this. So what I do here is let's try the flatten brush. So it's working fairly well. Not exactly what I want. Probably scrape will work better for what I want. I want more control. Yeah, scrape better. See how much it pushed in, like so quick. Now, maybe you could see why I was like, bringing it out so far. Up. So I'm pushing this edge in, pulling this out. Remember that line I kind of told you, like it's like a diagonal line coming from the tip of the nose, like down this way. Bring this in some. So I'll hold Control, press I. Go back to that scrape brush. Scrape here. Yeah. I like how so I'm left clicking over and over instead of dragging. I'm doing that to have more control. That we need to go back quite a ways, so I am dragging now. This needs to not be out. It's further than the front lip. So I'll press F. Got the side of the face there somewhat. I'll shrink this. So we can go to the elastic deform. Pull this up. Push this in. You can even use the elastic deform to drag that in. So with this, the bottom of the lip, I kind of like look at where the nostril's at right there. To use that as like a guide where I don't want this to go past. So we'll hold Alt, press M to take away the mask. Take the hand to pan. Okay, we're gonna hold Control, hold Shift, left click, drag lasso select around the whole bottom part of the mouth. We're gonna hold Control, press I. It's kind of like this hollowness here that I don't like. Inside a lip. So I want the mouth part of the lip to be hollow, but not inside the actual lips. So I'll go to the crease brush. I'll push that together. Separate the top lip from the bottom lip. Go to the blob brush. This bottom lip thicker. I'm actually going to hold Control. Typically on the mouth, there's like a flat, kind of like a flattened part, like right here, underneath the chin as well. So that's basically what I'm doing here. So it's like kind of flat here, kind of flat, like right underneath the mouth. Then as far as the chin, I want the chin to come out, something like that. Then with all of that selected, I'll go to the inflate brush. Push that together like that. Thinking of that line that comes down there like that, so Zooming back, I am taking a hand to move the view. I'm going to hold Alt, press M to deselect. Smooth brush probably won't give good results. We're going to go to the flatten brush, which can work like a very strong smooth brush. So I'm left clicking to drag here. I'm just pressing again and again. I'm not dragging. Left clicking again, as well as again here. Smoothing these areas out using the flatten brush. Try left clicking, drag here. Try it here. Yep, left clicking and drag just slightly, so I'm barely left clicking. I'm left clicking and dragging very slightly. Here, left clicking and dragging here. Taking a look. Okay, I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to go to the scrape brush to scrape here. I'll press F to increase the size of the brush. Flatten out this whole plane of the face there. Go to the elastic deform. Pull in the face like that. Press F to shrink that brush down. Okay, we're going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. We're going to go to the wrench. Add a smooth modifier. So we're going to change the factor to 1. Let's change the repeat to 20. Let's see what we have there. Let's see, 25. 30. Okay, we'll apply that. Okay, we're going to add another smooth modifier on. So smooth, factor 1, enter, repeat, 30. Select apply. Okay, while we're in object mode, we'll select the eyelids. We'll hold shift. We'll select the eyes. I'll let go of shift. We're going to press S.9 and then press enter. Then left click to lock in. So we shrunk the eyelids as well as the eyes to 90% of what they were. Okay, also we'll select the ear. We'll press S.8, then press enter. So we shrunk the ear to 80% of what it was. We'll pull that out slightly. Don't be concerned about the other ear for now. Matter of fact, let's go to edit mode. We'll hover here, press L. We'll press as well as control. Press as well as control. So I'm holding control I. Then we'll press X and then choose faces to delete the other ear. What? That didn't work? Really? It's interesting. How's that possible?